Thou wilt deliver Israel by my hand, as thou hast said. Now I struggled for a long time. Is this Gideon getting confirmation before he goes into battle? Or is this just blatant doubt? And given that Gideon has had a pretty miraculous sign already, and given that he seems pretty sure about what God has said, I lean toward blatant doubt. So he lays a fleece, and God enters the story with a simple phrase, and it was so. And Gideon comes back the next day and he says, well, just this once I'm going to ask for a sign. Even though I've seen a sign and had another sign, just this once I'm going to ask for another sign. And in the night, God did all that Gideon asked. And we see God deliver the people through Gideon with God's work. And as I thought about Gideon, and it came to my mind Hebrews chapter 11. And this hall of faith, as many like to call it, these exemplars of faithfulness. And as you read through this list of people, you come to the end, and here is Gideon's name. And I said, wait, did you not read this, O writer of Hebrews? Go back and check out the book of Judges, where Gideon is continually asking for more and more signs of God's faithfulness, that God will fulfill his promise. And I began to think, what about those people that I've considered faithful over the years? What do I think about them? Because life is a lot messier than it seems when you're reading it on a page. We know the end of the story. We know that God delivers Gideon and his 300 warriors by the strength of his own hand. But if you're on Gideon's side of that battle, it may not be quite so simple. So I went to the passage again, and that small phrase just kept jumping out at me. In verse 38. Gideon asked for a sign, and God doesn't verbally respond. In this section, you don't see God say anything. It just says, and it was so. And it was so. And I started to look at that phrase, and it only occurs 7 times in the Old Testament. 5 of them are in Genesis chapter 1. When God spoke the water into existence, and it was so. When God spoke and the animals came into being, and it was so. Makes me wonder if the writer of Judges was reminding us that this God who has entered the story is the same God who had the power to speak, and creation was so. So what about us and our fear? Our fear to love our enemies. Our fear to provide for the hungry and the orphan and the widow. We serve the same God who enters the story. And the same God who speaks and says, be. And it is so. It was the same God who hung on a cross and said, it is finished.